My name is B Max, aka Brandon. This is episode 44 of the Anime Dojo. I'm alongside Chris and Dion this evening. Gentlemen, how you doing this evening?
Doing pretty good, bro.
Let's. We have a couple things to get into tonight. We have um Demon or not Demon Slayer. We have a solo leveling game that's going to be coming out. We'll talk about that. We also have interesting chart that came out from Otaku News as well that mentioned that we are getting that shows that the top pirated anime and shows of 2023. We'll talk about that. Then we'll also get into the charts and our episodes tonight. We get back Magic and Muscles episode 7, and then this is going to be episode 7 as well of solo leveling. So we'll get in that programming note for next week. Next week we are not going to have an episode for solo leveling. They're going to take a little break because Magic and Muscles took a break last week during the Valentine's Day week. But in place, we'll have Magic and Muscles, but we'll also have our thoughts about the Demon Slayer Hashira training arc episode. We're gonna go see that in theaters this weekend, so we'll have those thoughts for you on the next podcast. So look forward to that. But we'll start off this with talking about this. Solo Leveling is gonna make a game, and this was kind of from left field. We've seen this a bunch of times already. The weird thing about this one, though, I'm wondering if this is gonna just be a straight straight one-to-one adaptation. The Solo Leveling game is gonna be released in April, coming spring 2024. We don't know much other details about it, so I'm gonna start off with Chris for this. Chris, what do you think about the solo leveling game we're about to get?
Yo, I'm just hoping it's not absolute trash, but I think it's going to be absolute trash. Let's just be honest. I mean, there aren't too many anime made games that do very well. I mean, Naruto and Dragon Ball Z being the only other two, but if you ask me, the Naruto one is not all that good. And Dragon Ball Z, they've been overusing it for the last few years. So, yeah, there's not really much to even say about that.
Um, Before I go to Dion, what do you think about Chris? That the fact that we've gotten 3 anime games in the past like 6 months. We're getting this announcement with the Demon Slayer announcement. We also had the JJK one, which people didn't really like. So what do you think about that, Chris? That we're getting these 3 games kind of back to back to each other.
You mean me or Dion?
I said Chris. I was saying Chris.
Okay, so the 3 games back to back, I don't know, bro. Like honestly, like come on, like we're getting. Oh, how can I put it this way? It's a bunch of different people doing a lot of different games. There are plenty of other games that they could be doing, especially if it's going to come out on PlayStation. There are so many other games that PlayStation could do, like Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank. Whatever happened to remakes of those?
Mm-hmm.
I rest my case.
Yeah. Dion, what do you think about this whole situation? We are getting the solo leveling game, and I asked Chris, do you think this is too much too fast, or like I asked him where we've gotten Demon Slayer, we've gotten JJK. Do you think it's just kind of the trend now?
I think it just depends on the game itself. If it's based more so on the concept of solo leveling versus the actual anime or manga, then that may do very well. Like a MMORPG type of game. But if it's a true to course anime related game, it's just gonna do as well as all the rest of the anime related games, which is no one plays them, no one talks about them, no one cares about them. It feels like they just have to do like a status quo of release.
Yeah, based on the key art that's in the group chat I sent y'all, it looks like we're going through because they showed all 3 types of Jinnu, the young kid version when he gets kind of the middle age version, and then there's a spoiler where he gets the really powered version at the end of the anime. And then there's other characters like I think Jin He's in there. You see Jin Ho. You see the S rank hunter we've seen in the anime. I'm wondering if this is going to be more like an MMO style, MMO slash RPG style thing, but we'll see. Well, Dion, what would you want to see from this game? Would you want to see a more MMO style or more RPG type kind of thing?
I would definitely like to see more of a RPG type of game where it's like you team up with your friends, go dungeon diving, kind of like a Skyrim online, not necessarily as open world and dynamic as that, but I mean the concept of solo leveling is this guy gets this video game like persona basically. So why
Mhm.
shouldn't we be able to play that in the actual video game?
Yeah, that's true. Chris, do you kind of agree with Dion in that sense? You think it's going to be you would want to see more RPG style than MMO style, and that's more playing into like his power level and his gamifying of stuff from the show.
Well,
Is that more of an easier way to do that?
well, just for my sake, I know what RGP stands for, but what does MMO stand for?
So massive online multiplayer. Basically, in that case, I would be saying like you could play as all the different like all the major characters. You could get you build your own character, but you can get the powers of certain characters or certain abilities or certain ranks,
No,
and you
no.
kind of play as
Like a
Then,
DC
then no,
universe.
yeah,
no. Then I need an RPG because to me that's the only way that you can truly make your character unique. Uniquely yours.
yeah, okay.
It's
Okay.
yeah.
I would be interested what reviews do because I know the only other thing I can think of last time we had this something come up with anime wise that JJK game got review bombed all to get out. Plus, it got the highest refunded game in I think in game in the this so far this year. Like people didn't like it that much, so I'm kind of worried that they're just paying off the hype of solo leveling. But if they are, fine. But know the fact that people are going to be very cross if it's bad. Yeah, yeah, you don't want to mess with that fan base right now. That fan base is on a high after episode 6. So I don't think you want to quell that fan. You don't want to mess with that because that's doing well for you. Um, I we'll see what happens. I want to know what y'all think in the comments about this because I think this is going to be one of those one and done things where it's like it comes out, it does okay, maybe have a few people still playing it, maybe a couple months down the road, but after that, it kind of just falls off the wayside
I don't
because
even think it'll make it to that. I think it's gonna die before then.
I I could see it dying earlier, but I say 3 months. I
I
give it
hope
three
it does.
months. I give it 3 months before it might fall off a cliff.
Dion, you made me feel bad for just being honest. I tell you, bro, I don't think it's gonna be that good. But that doesn't mean
No,
I hope
like,
it's gonna
I
be
don't hope
bad.
it. I just hope it doesn't be too bad so they can make it good later down the line. Like we get a
Correct.
lot of games that or a lot of anime that have potential to have a great game, but because the first one did so bad, you never get to see it. Like Bleach. Like Bleach has the potential to have some great games, but for a long time they stopped making them because they was garbage. SAO, same way, short out of the line,
Oh yeah.
garbage games. But that potential is there. Like it's there. Even JJK. Like if you made a JJK game with the Naruto basis of like fighting with a story mode or like the Dragon Ball Z basis, or one of the uh better examples of an anime based game is Jump Force, which
Yep.
is kind of like a battle royale for all the shonen characters. But something like that in JJK style, oh my goodness, what?
I
Yeah, that would
I
be
think
absurd.
I think there's the comparison I thought about Jump Force. Jump Force is probably one of the few that's an arena fighter that actually did pretty okay. But the thing was what Jump Force was they have all these properties they had to kind of contend with, and it ended up kind of not doing them well because ending up it forced them to try to make the game better, but they couldn't get the other property they wanted to get to make the game better. So it ended up just being these couple characters, and the gameplay was okay. It wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it had the bones to be a good game.
Yeah,
Um,
it definitely had potential.
I
Um,
think with solo leveling, the potential's there. I think the only thing I think the only thing it's gonna be the hard thing to do for people, you would have to make the character seem like their anime counterparts enough to where it would feel like you're actually playing the character or have the abilities of that character that you're going to build your own character with. If that feels off, I think a lot of people will go, yeah, I'll pass.
See, I
But
would say go off script.
ooh,
But and that's what makes
I
stuff
would
good is
say,
when they go off script.
well, I mean, could you imagine this, right? You have the endless amount of creativity and potential if you go off script. Yes, put the original characters in the game, but make them NPCs. And then
There it
you
is.
create your character who has to go through these dungeons with your friends or a couple of NPCs that you gather along the way. But I don't want to play as Jinhu because if I play as him and he's garbage, then I'm gonna hate the game.
correct.
But if I
Yep.
play, or you know what I'm saying, like if I play as my character and you give me a couple moves that I can upgrade and I can customize my own set list or whatever, like I want that versus the crap we're gonna get.
You bring up a good point because the thing I'm thinking about, and it's weird that I'm thinking this in my head. I don't know if y'all have ever seen the new Street Fighter 6. Do you know of the World Tour mode, Dion, that they added?
Yeah,
Remember seeing it? I like
yeah.
that kind of idea because then you go around to all the masters and learn moves, learn special things from them, learn their styles of fighting. So if you gave me the thing where, okay, I have to go find the S Ray Hunter somewhere and I have to go learn her fighting style and get more, build up her respect for her or like get to be able to she respects me more and I eventually unlock the ultimate ability she has, that would be cool. Same with
You know,
Jin Nu,
but
same
see,
with Jin
but see,
Ho.
that's what I don't like though. And
Okay.
that's what, like, I like the idea of like everybody using the powers and things that come from that anime or that specific universe or whatever. But it it really kind of makes it hard on a character when you're kind of forcibly when those powers are kind of forcibly put on you. You know what I mean? Like you have
Mm,
nothing to look forward to. I
okay.
know where they're gonna get.
I think it
Yeah,
just
they
depends on how creative they want to get with the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they
yeah.
if they want to be if they want to cut corners, you can have set skills from each NPC character and go there, and you can either choose to have like your E ability be from this one character, or your F from the other character, and I'm speaking in PC terms, but
Yeah.
your M1 is a certain move, and your M2 does a certain thing from another character, or you can give me a contract list of M1 moves, F moves, E moves, and a character build. My character is a sword fighter. My character is a a, a brawler. My
Melee
character is a gun user, and now this type of character can only use these type of M1 moves, but I have to grind to get them. So like level 1, I can only get certain amount of moves. Level 3, I can move up. Level 5, my tier level goes up. I feel like that fits the solo leveling um characteristics a little bit better, where I can grind my way into dungeons and then level up my character, my moves, my equipment. If I get more money, I can go buy more equipment, stuff like that. Basically, Shangri-La as an actual game.
Yeah, I said that the other night when me and Chris watched Shangri-La. If Shangri-La was a real game, I would play it to my heart content. But I don't want to see it as a real game because it'd be kind of hard to make what they're proposing. But I
I
can
mean,
see
but
it
we
being.
have those already.
We have had those
And
already.
here's the worst thing about it. You can do well with those type of games in a overworld game like Roblox. Roblox has many of little games in them like this. Like
Mhm.
World Peace, Grand Peace Online does this very well. Um, but why don't we have any full games like this? Like we get Black Desert and Terra and games like that try, but they suck in comparison to what we could have.
Because you need money and budget, and that a lot of times studios don't want to spend the kind of budget you want to. If you're a game like you're talking, game like
Yeah.
Shangri-La, that's a budget of like a couple $100 million.
But look
It's
at
like the
games like GTA and Skyrim. and Elder Scroll,
Yeah.
where it's essentially that same concept, especially something like Elden Ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
essentially that same concept, just a different storyline.
correct.
Give me Elden Ring, but I'm dungeon diving instead of just going to castles, and it's my built character, basically the same as Elden Ring, but in the world of solo leveling. That's the best game I've ever played.
But there was another game that doesn't get enough credit for being a good RPG, and I think that's goes to Dragon Quest. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Dragon
Yeah.
Quest is
Dragon
slept
Quest.
on, but it's a Dragon Quest is a good RPG, but it's not a creative world RPG. Like Dragon Quest, you get in, you are who you are, you do what you do. It's like Zelda.
So, okay, we're gonna move to the next topic in a second, but I want a one-word answer from both of y'all, or one sentence answer. Actually, no, one-word answer. I'll put it this way. I had to think because I want to do this in the way I'm thinking. What, what do you hope? What do you see the score being when it comes out in spring? What do you see that game Metacritic score out of 100 or out of 10? What do you want to give it? What do you think that score will be for fans and critics when it comes out? So I'll start off with Chris for that.
So I don't know meta scores at once. So if one being the lowest and 100 being the highest,
Yeah.
I don't think he'll do more than maybe about 60, if that. And I'm being
Okay.
very generous.
Okay. Okay. Dion, same question to you. What do you would give it? Like 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100? That what would you give that score if it came once it comes out?
Um.
What do you think that will be?
Oh God. If it's what I think it's going to be, I probably think it's gonna be at like a 6 or 7 when it first comes out. Then depending on what it is, it may drop.
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
Because it may look good. It may look very pretty when it first comes out.
That's the thing. I think it's gonna drop off people in.
Hmm.
It's gonna look really good, and that's gonna be the big
Oh yeah,
visuals. The visuals are gonna be amazing. It's gonna be the gameplay. It's gonna people gonna fight
The
back on.
gameplay is gonna suck. Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm sure all everybody on this chat has met that one person that looks really good or they look really smart, and then they open up their mouth and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yep.
So ultimately, I would have to give it. I'm about where y'all are, 60, somewhere in there. But I'm like Dion. If it gets better over time, I think that number can go up. But if it gets worse over time, that number is going to fall down.
Well, I put it this way: Cyberpunk.
That's the example I was thinking about.
Mm.
Did really bad at the beginning, and it really has done really well now with all the updates, and it's probably one of the better games.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
other
it's
one I
getting
can think of is No Man's Sky is the other one I can think of back in my brain. Did really bad at the beginning. Now we're seeing where No Man's Sky is sitting at now. Probably
Yeah.
one of the better games you can do for space stuff. So we'll
Now
see.
I'm sure nobody will ever go and admit it.
Go in a minute. What? Like that game's gotten better over time?
Yeah, but nobody wants to admit. But Starfield has gotten better.
Oh
Correct.
man,
Correct.
Starfield still sucks, bro.
Hey man. I said it's gotten better. I never said it was good.
It never
Man.
was good. It got better.
The things that they came out with when we first started hearing about Starfield and all the hype around it, it's to me it still has not met its match. I still won't play it. I still will. Nope.
Fair enough.
Pass.
Let's get into this, and we're gonna do this a little kind of truncated because we talked about it last week with some pirate stuff and truncated roll. But I put in our chat that we had the top 10 pirated anime from last year, and this was also from Otaku News Insider. Basically, I'm gonna give you the top 5, and then we'll talk from there. It was kind of interesting because this didn't surprise me any, but it kind of gave me cause for pause. The Last of Us season 1, JJK season 2, Vinland Saga season 2, The Embers in the Shadows season 1, My Hero Academia season 6. And I'll give you the last 6 and 7. Actually, I might finish it out. Magic Jobless season 2 at 6, Magic and Muscles season 1, the Embers in the Shadows season 2, Furs Beyond Junior's End season 1, and then Sloan. I think I've never heard of this last one, season 1. Uh, so what we kind of talked about last week, that with Crunchyroll raising its prices, that a lot of people think they're going to go back into powering anime. On that list, you have 3 of the top 4 from last season: Jobless, JJK, and Enter in the Shadows. But you also have Fears Beyond Journey End as well. So I'm going to start off with Dion for this. Dion, what do you think about the fact that these are the top 10 anime pirated? And on the conversation we had last week, do you kind of think now seeing that list, it's going to get even worse?
On the fact that this is pirated, you just kind of see who's doing what.
Hmm.
You know, like The Last of Us season 1 being the most pirated, and then it's nothing but anime.
Yeah, yeah.
So, as far as is it going to get worse? I still don't think so. I still think it's gonna kind of teeter to where it is. Because the people who aren't paying for Crunchyroll now are still gonna be the people who's not paying for it later. You know, the only difference would be if people continue to keep Crunchyroll. If
That
people,
part.
if you get more people dropping because of the prices, then
That's where you got a problem.
that's when you're gonna have a problem. Yeah, but if people are like, all right, I'll just pay the extra or get grandfathered in and don't have to pay the extra, then I think we're gonna be all right. You know.
There is one clarification with the Crunchyroll thing, which I thought was interesting. I had to look at a couple videos after last week. So basically, what they're doing, and I didn't, when the little tweet thing came up about it on, if you go to Crunchyroll, the little statement they put up on when you go first log into Crunchyroll computer or on or mobile or even on like Xbox or PlayStation, that mentions that it's going from $59.99 to $99.99, basically for a year. Basically, that's in line with what Crunchyroll is at right now for monthly users. At like, I think that's $10 a month, basically, for the basis for that. It's gonna be one of those weird things. I don't know if that's gonna really make a difference when you see it broken out monthly. Still, you're only paying $59 a month over. Now you're gonna pay
Well,
$100 over a
essentially,
year.
if you pay the yearly, you're saving $20.
Correct. So, Chris, same question to you. Do you kind of agree with Dion in the sense like, if you're already a user, you're not going to really care. But if people start leaving Crunchyroll, it's going to make it a lot harder for them to
Well,
keep that.
well, for me, I remember when Crunchyroll was a pirated website.
Mm.
So with that being said, that doesn't. I don't think that would make or break Crunchyroll because that's what they used to. Now, now I do see them dropping shows and dropping quality if their number of customers drop. I don't think they'll change their prices, but I do think they would drop contracts, and we probably won't get as many shows.
That would be kind of terrible if they did that.
Hey man, that's business.
That is business for you, which I'm not. I get it, but it's also kind of interesting. We started watching last night. What was the show, Chris? I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Oh, Dion, you ready for this? He's watching Agami got killed.
Uh-oh. What happened?
And it's funny. It's funny.
He's
We're
never
watching
seen
this.
it.
Never seen the show, but it's actually really interesting. I like the first 2 episodes. But it's funny. We were looking to find it on Crunchyroll. It's not on Crunchyroll. It's on High Dive, but also it's on Hulu. And Chris mentioned the fact that Hulu is partnered with Crunchyroll.
Wait, what show? I didn't hear.
Agami got killed.
Oh yes. Oh my god. Yes. It's on Hulu too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
but when Chris mentioned it's on Hulu, but it's also Hulu's partnered with Crunchyroll for certain things. I'm just like, why is it not on Crunchyroll then? That's kind of odd that a show like that's on one but not the other, but it's also on High Dive. Like,
Well, Hulu was partnered with Funimation.
oh, that's now okay. That
Right,
makes more
but
sense.
Crunchyroll bought out Funimation.
So I wonder if that contract's done. That's kind of the point. I get where Dion's going. If that
Yeah, just recently though. So it may get on
Uh,
Crunchyroll
Yeah,
after a while.
down the
but
line, yeah.
but I did to Brandon that some time ago. I was like, dang, that it might take Crunchyroll some time to get everything on there.
Uh,
Yeah.
I, I I look at this list and like Dion said, I think the big thing for me is like you say, the first thing that's on that list is Last of Us, but everything else is anime. So a lot of people are looking for anime where they can find it easily. And like Chris said last week, if you have an older computer or something that's not gonna have a lot of viruses or things, you'll take the risk. A lot of people I think will be more upset. The price thing will be more upsetting, Chris. But I think if they start dropping things or we don't see things come back, I think a lot of people will be go, you know what? I'll just drop the service entirely. Part. And
Yep.
I think the big thing is if you keep the big stuff like your Chainsaw Man, JJK, Demon Slayer, Vinland Saga, One Piece, that kind of stuff. If that stuff stays on, we're good.
You
I think you
gotta
still get
keep
new
that
stuff
though. Or
if you
you
keep
lose your fan base.
correct. But if you also get new stuff like Metallic Rogue, we've done the wrong way to use Healing Magic, Shangri La, things that are kind of not in that higher end list, but they're in that mid tier list. I think you're good. I think that's going to be something. If that stuff's still around, I think it helps Crunchyroll more than it hurts it because that's stuff that people want to try to watch themselves. We'll see what happens with this list. I want to see what this list will look like in 2024.
You know what's gonna happen?
Go ahead.
You know what's gonna happen that I don't think we mentioned before. Um, Another third party app is gonna pop up to pick everybody up that Crunchyroll lets go.
Ooh.
Somebody like High Dive already, but they're gonna pick up all the people. I mean, because you're still gonna want to watch your anime, and if you can give me an app that's like $6 versus what Crunchyroll is trying to get you to pay,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is the market.
But I think the thing is, and if the over time, look at Netflix. Netflix raised their prices almost every year,
yeah,
2 or 3 times a
Yeah,
year. And
and
it ended up hurting their market, but at the same time, a lot of people were like, I can't get rid of it. I'm gonna still use it, you know.
Netflix got cocky though.
Yes, they did. They got cocky. They got very cocky. They did
Netflix
get
was
very,
one of the first people to do it, so they got cocky. And then Hulu and what was the new one that I was looking on the list, and it's like Amazon. Amazon stepped up and they
yeah.
started with their streaming services with cheaper prices, and it knocked Netflix down a peg.
a pig.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just recently. I mean, like, yeah, just a
Come on.
peg. They still cocky.
I we'll, be-
Well, I hate Netflix so bad though. We don't. I'm done.
I'll be interested to see what happens with that pirate list next year, but also I'll be interested to see how the industry changes their streaming thing because somebody brought it up pretty quickly, and I thought about too because I'm a wrestling fan. They're moving Raw to Netflix next year, but it's interesting, and I've always said this: we're going to go back to the years of cable in a sense that you need multiple services to do multiple things, or you're not going to have just one service for all your stuff. So it's basically like you're going to have a service for your wrestling, you're going to have a service for your anime, you're going to have a service for all these list of movies. How are you going to like? People are going to be kind of like, do I really want to pay for everything? No. It,
Well, you're not
it
wrong, and I completely agree with that. I think the only thing that's missing out of that is just the fact that people okay, there are already a bunch of like Hulu is a great example of this. They already have a bunch of shows, a bunch of other companies under their name, under their title.
and they're also owned by
So
Disney.
so right. So the only real difference between cable and all these other services is just timing. You want it then, you want it now. You don't want to be waiting on time. You know everything's recorded and ready to
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. But let me know what y'all think in the
That's
comments.
where exclusive content comes in.
Yeah, yeah. That's why Netflix lost all the partnerships with Marvel stuff. When all that stuff went to Disney Plus, they kind of lost a base of things that they used to use to get people to get Netflix. And now Disney's having the
Yeah.
same problem because there's nothing on Disney that people care about because all the movies and stuff are on there. But outside that, what else you can really watch.
That's a whole other conversation because
Yes,
Disney
yes,
sucks.
yes, it is.
Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna say we can go on this forever because then you could talk about the bundling services too, like Amazon, who
Oh,
has BET and
yeah.
Stars and all this stuff bundled under one. You know, so
exactly.
Well, let's get into
somebody's gonna pick up a Crunchyroll bundle.
yes, yeah. Somebody's gonna do something. I could see one of the bigger three kind of call Crunchyroll. Hey, you want to be bought out, and we'll pay you. Yeah, I could see that happening eventually down the road, long time down the road, not anytime soon.
But
Uh,
I'm sorry.
Or
I got to
Disney
say
or
this.
Hulu or something.
But the thing is that both Crunchyroll is both an added service on both Hulu and Amazon.
yes, they are. They already are. So it's not easy for them to get bought out by somebody else, but it could technically could. It just be hard to work out all the minutia. Let's get into the charts, and these charts were kind of insane. I have to say this was probably one of the few times where I smiled. I grinned from ear to ear when I saw these charts, but it's only because I think the thing we said last week came to fruition. So let's
Yep.
get into this. We have Dangers in My Heart season 2 at 1, Ronda Crisman at 2, Solo Leveling at 3, went up 4 spots. The Married My Worst Enemy went up 1 spot to 4. Classroom Elite jumped 5 spots season 3. The Apothecary Diaries stayed at 6. Shangri-La moved up 6 spots to 7. Uh, a Sign of Affection moved up 3 spots to 8. Fear and Beyond Journeyman dropped 7 spots. That's kind of insane. Okay, and Chainsaw dropped 1 spot to 10. Do I really want to start with Dion for this? Dion, go ahead. 'Cause I
Yes.
want go ahead. What do you got to say to these charts? Go right ahead, please do.
You know what? You can take my turn too. You got it because it's gonna be good.
What do you think about the
Shangri-La
Hey there?
getting some respect it deserves. Everything else is pretty much expected, but Shangri-La and Beyond Journey's End finally in places where they deserve to be.
Uh,
Agreed.
I, I I would ask for more context with the Furious Beyond Journey's End and why. Because I wonder why you say it should be at 9.
Me?
No, Dion.
Oh,
I wonder why he thinks Furious Beyond Journey to be at 9.
All right. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. I was asking, why do you think Furious Beyond Journey should
Okay.
be at 9, Dion?
Man, I just don't think it should be in the top 3 every week. Or top
man.
5. It's it's one of the I put it on to go to sleep. Like it's not a very entertaining anime. It's beautiful. It's very beautiful. The characters are extremely strong, although we never see it. But it's
It's one of those ones
it's just a
where,
weak anime. Like I don't.
yeah, yeah. I
Ding
I
ding.
I get it. I get where you're coming from, Dion. I see why you're probably saying the same. I get it. It's funny though because it's story based, and it's after the fact she's done all this work. Done all this partying and stuff. So I get if we got the reverse where they down the road they do a prequel where they show her getting through this team, working with this team, getting to the end of this journey, all this kind of stuff. I think it would be more interesting, but I also think the story of her trying to cope with the fact she's done being in a party and being a part of this. I don't know. It works. I don't think it's gonna ever. I think it's not gonna
Yeah,
stay at
it's
next.
very beautiful, very creative, a
I
great spin on the genre. I just don't think it should be in the top 10 like it is.
okay. Okay. Chris, I will ask because I should ask anyway. What do you think about these charts? Do you kind of agree with Dion for most of this? Where
Dion didn't leave that now, bro.
okay.
Like
Okay.
these charts, like you know me. I always say the charts will start to solidify around episode 6, 7,
Yep.
and it's doing just that. So any major changes done in after 6 or 7, usually because the show was better in the first place, and people really started watching it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But that's also kind of weird to me because it's like I'm gonna go watch the I Married My Worst Enemy then, because that seems like that's gotten a lot of traction. I want to go watch. I'm gonna go back and watch Classroom Elite now because that's gotten back in the top 5 and it's probably staying up in there now. Shangri-La, we already know. I'm surprised Chain Shoulder dropped a spot, but I'm also going. I always say Chain Shoulder is one of those ones that is acquired taste. That's one that I think you would have to understand what's going on for that. But ultimately, I'm not too worried about that if that's the case. But we'll see. I'm happy to see Shangri-La. I'm happy to see Solo Leveling the way where it is because I think Solo Leveling deserved that spot. But also, I think it's funny if you think about it. I'm slightly worried because I didn't tell y'all this at the beginning. An Anime Corner brought this up. Dangers in My Heart, season 2, has been on the top spot for 6 straight weeks. That is insane. No show has done that. I think no show has done that even in last year's charts. No show was at the top for that long. I think maybe 1 or 2 weeks and fell off. Now, and I think me and Chris talked about it. Now I'm gonna go watch Dangers in My Heart because Dangers in My Heart seems something insane. But
yeah, I'm definitely binging that.
Yep.
like gonna have to binge that now because like why is this so good and why is it staying in the top 1? And I think I called something and I partially called it, but I don't know if I could ever get the full data for it. With Solo Leveling moving to 3, I'm wondering now if that's because of the fights or because of story. I think it's I think it's the first because of the fights. I think the 2
I don't
fights.
know, man. I
told
think
you
it's because
guys
of
it
the
was gonna
story.
happen, though.
Oh, you think it's because of story? I tend to agree because of story, but ultimately I'm like, did the story
It's a
actually?
combination.
Okay, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, the last episode was that build up,
To that,
right? And you see that reflected in the charts. It wasn't doing so well, but this one hit hard with both story and fights and character development,
mm-hmm.
which are like I know for me 3 big things you look for in an anime episode. What did we
Correct.
learn?
Yeah.
How did we learn it? And what are we gonna do with this new information?
Correct. I'm gonna ask you
Anime
gentlemen this
101.
before we get to Magic and Muscles episode 18. Get that up whenever get up. We'll be there in a minute, about a minute or so. Do you think that Dangers in My Heart will sweep the rest of the season? We're at the halfway point from this chart. Do you think it will finish the season at the top of number 1 for the rest of the season? It will be the first one to do it for a while in a long time. And I'll start off with Chris for that.
I hope not, bro. I hope not because one of the things we said in our last podcast, and I believe you were the one that said it, was that you might have fans picking it just because that's their show. They don't care about any other show, but that's their show. The other show might even be better, but that's their show, and that bothered the absolute crap out of me because that happens, and then which makes the charts ineffective for being charts.
Yeah. Yeah. Dion, do you see that same sentiment where it's like Chris saying, like we talked about last week, that's just your show, you're just gonna vote for it even though it could be bad? I think you actually said it and I thought the same thing. I was like, fandom. It's a fandom thing. Fine.
Yeah.
Yes. Or do you agree with me? Do you think like this will end the season just at number 1 for the rest of the year? Rest of the winter season?
I don't think it's gonna get any less votes than it has been. I think the only way it's gonna move is if something else does very well in comparison to. Like, we've got a bar to jump to, and there's only 3 anime that can do it. And if they do it, it's gonna be in those finale 3 episodes.
Okay. And what are the 3 anime you say that can do it?
Well, actually, looking at this list, I may be wrong on this because Ragnar Crimson was not on my 3 list, and it has come the closest to taking over so far. But
It has. Yeah, it has. It has.
um, yeah, I
I
did
think
not expect that to be at number 2 at any time.
I think the 3 I can think you're thinking of, Soul Level.
Yep.
I'm gonna say Furious Beyond Journey's End if it can bounce back.
Yep.
I can see it doing it. The other one is the one I don't think is gonna have a hard time to try to do it is Apothecary Diaries. Those are probably the 3 that can ultimately do it and do it easily with their last couple episodes of their seasons.
You're right,
Outside of that,
because Apothecary Diary was top of his charts for a while too.
correct. But this season's been kind of weird because I don't think it's done as
And it's
well.
been in the top 5 every week.
Yeah, it has been a top 5. So it's done well, but it hasn't done well enough to where it can hit the top again. I'm gonna be interested because I'm wondering then because the top 3 drama, shonen, another drama. I'm gonna put classroom elite as a drama, shonen, and 2 more dramas, and then the shonen to end in the charts. Like, that kind of tells
But
you
I'll tell
dramas.
you what,
Go ahead.
it won't be one of the normal ones. Looking
No.
at and I just looked at these lists normally, it's gonna be a drastic jump that takes over spot number 1. That's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna pin that nail in my prediction. It's gonna be something that jumps like 6 to 9 levels, and that's what's gonna take it down.
Okay.
Ragnar did it, Mash done it, Apothecary's Diary has done it, where they jump 8, 9 levels and become second, and it's like, wait, you were even on the list?
Look at Shangri-La right now. It jumped 6 spots.
Yeah.
And has
And now, what I would be
12.
surprised to see, because somebody told me that I probably should have kept watching, was Bujigiri.
What? After me and you
I don't
both
see
after me and you both said it was the first ones were
Garbage.
bad.
Absolute garbage. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. If I'll give you this, I'll say this right now. I'll eat humble pie if Bujigiri get in the top 20 at the end of the year. Because I do not think it's gonna get in the top 20 at all. But if it's getting better, that tells me then the first couple episodes were just boring.
I'll tell you what, if it does, I will never trust another anime list ever again. If it beats out Shangri-La, the wrong way to use healing magic, and no. Beast and Witch, what? If it jumps to beat out any of those and get in this top 10 list, yeah.
By the way, Deon, Bujigiri is sitting like the same level as Metal Rouge in the 30s. That's not even fair.
Yeah.
That's a crime. That's the crime right there.
Because Metal Rouge is a lot better than Bujigiri. And I think Metal Rouge should be in like the 20s. But yet it's in like the 30s. And nobody's watched
They
it.
gotta
I'm
be
like,
going for art style or something. Like, it's gotta be. Man.
Hey, like I said, I'll say again, if somehow Bujigiri can get in the top 20, I will eat humble pie. Because I think if that will tell me then that a slow starting anime gets better at the end, that means a slow start was just a bunch of story stuff. Which is usually not a bad thing, but even then, Bujigiri did the thing where it's the super slow story stuff. Like it doesn't connect very well.
I mean, but we see the story stuff works on this chart. So
yes, it does. That's the weird part. All the story stuff working in those charts. So it's like, okay, fair. Okay, I'm okay with that. But I'm also like Deon. If it gets in top 20, I can't trust another chart again because it's gonna be kind of hard.
You're gonna have a problem, man.
it's gonna be
Get with
it's
that.
gonna be
Yep.
kind of hard. It's gonna be hard to believe then that some fans like a show after. And yes, Chris' thing about I give an episode 3 to 4 episodes before. Like, think about it. We gave Butcher Gary 3, and we were both just like, "What?" And on the flip side, I gave Moulin Rouge up through this episode set 6, and I'm loving where they're about to head to this story. The story's gotten weirder, but interesting.
Yeah, that
Like,
story is a little. You got to catch it, but
Yeah.
I think the thing is going to be, and we've watched a lot of old school anime. Before we get into Magic and Muscle, so I hope we have that up and ready to go. With watching Assassinated Classroom, with watching the thing we're watching right now, with watching things like High School DxD, with watching things like High School Dead, I could go down a list. Devil May Cry is another one I can put on that list. Here's the big thing I think that needs to go. We need to get back to the old school stuff because all that stuff I just mentioned does 3 things very well: story, action, or plot, and they do a good job building characters. Your character building and the way the characters are built are so well done. I've never seen a show like Assassinated Classroom build a character, build a plot, and build 2 different plots, and they end up connecting in a separate different ways. Multiple characters.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind because the one, and I told Chris this whole time we we're watching it, with Assassinated Classroom, I said the 2 characters I love to hear talk was the principal and his son, and then when the principal started talking to Koro Sensei, that was just some of the most amazing stuff because it just felt like 2 people talking, but it had 2 different ways to handle things. But it sounded creepy and just rich. But it built in something. It built into the next story plot thing. It built to the next event. It built to. But sometimes you get episodes we're watching now with shows that don't build anything.
Yeah, I know.
Like it. And I know we'll never get back to the old school stuff as much because I know it's a thing. It's a hard thing to do. Write a good story. I get that.
Ah,
It shouldn't be. You're in the business of writing stories. It shouldn't be that hard.
thank you.
It is hard to write stories now for shows that are going on for the past 5, 6
I
years.
think people are just getting lazy though.
There it is.
They think we want nothing but fight scenes and explosions and cool short slashes, and the story itself is very lazy. Like, what's the one, Chris, that you showed? The Ninja.
Oh, the
Yeah,
new one.
Ninja
Yeah,
Kabuya.
Ninja
That
Kabuya.
story is super lazy. It's
Yeah,
extremely
Yes.
lazy.
Ninja Kabuya.
Yes, all it is just a lot of fights. It's very entertaining as a fight scene, but it has next
Yeah,
to no story
like
Well,
other than somebody getting revenge.
yeah, that's true. It's basically like John Wick without the story of John Wick.
yeah, it's
Yes.
typical story. It's Equalizer. It's John Wick.
it's,
It's
it's
Hell, it's
everything.
Demon Slayer. It's that revenge plot. You killed my family. I'm coming after you. It's
Correct.
so passe. It's been
So-
passe.
Now I do think that's gonna come with a twist though,
It could.
because it's still early. They're only in episode 2, so
And here's the other one I'm kind of interested in seeing when it comes out: Kaiju number 8. Because if Kaiju number 8
yes.
is how people are saying Kaiju number 8 is supposed to be, that's gonna be interesting to look out for. Because I'm wondering if that story could be interesting. Because they delayed
Because
it.
they're hyping that up just like they did Solo Leveling.
It was supposed to be in this chart. They delayed it, so
Yep.
now it's supposed to be in the spring chart. The spring chart is even more like, yeah,
Yeah,
That's
the
gonna
spring
be
chart is
fun.
even more stacked.
I'm worried.
That's gonna be some fun chartage though.
Yeah, that chart's gonna be super fun.
As long as we don't get any dramas that take over.
That's also true.
It doesn't look like there's but 2 good dramas that's supposed
That
to
I
be
know.
released out or even going on in the spring. So
Yeah. But let's get into Magic and Muscles episode 18. Like I said, it was delayed from last week. This was supposed to be we were supposed to get the episode last week. We're getting it this week. The last thing I remember from the last episode was the fact that we were still in this dungeon thing, trying to help Finn protect the crystal. I think we're still doing that plot line now. We're gonna see where this ends up because I'm wondering what they're gonna take with Mash, because Mash has done this giant fight now. We can do a slower episode. Is this gonna be a more fast-paced episode? We'll see. In a minute, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Gentlemen, you ready?
Ready.
sir.
All right. In 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Oh, they reshowed the tennis fight or part of the tennis fight. All right. They're showing a thing that people actually like.
They're doing a recap. That's cool.
Oh, we're seeing more of him. Okay, fair enough.
Oh, that's right. You haven't watched this episode, Brandon.
Nope, I'm going into this blind.
Me too.
Oh my God. So I'll tell y'all this now. This is a setup. This whole episode is a setup.
I figured it is a setup because it's setting. I can see where it's probably setting
I
up
put it
to.
this way. They took a break when solo leveling got hyped. Now solo leveling is taking a break, and I feel like they finna get hyped.
So that is it. One of those things you don't want both shows going against each other because you know you could probably split the fan bases.
Probably, but at the same time, you're splitting the fan base, but you don't want to split the hype of the episodes of that week.
By the way, I looked at something I didn't know about for Solo Leveling, and we talked about it for MASH. They're both done by Aplex. They're both by Aplex America. Is the publisher? Which I'm like,
So maybe it has more to do with their company being able to release it than it does people actually wanting it to,
could be.
balance
It just
each other out.
Maybe.
it was just interesting. Like A1 is it makes the anime, but Aplex produces it, publishes it. I'm like, oh, okay, so y'all can do whatever y'all want then.
They all are under the same umbrella corporations. They all work together.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah. If anything, just competing studios.
Yeah.
They use the music scale for that. Okay, I have to give you credit. He's a music person, so he should be. He uses it a way to use a power level. Oh, okay. All right.
Now that is a completely new scale of power rating. I like it.
That's a good way of doing a power rating. That's a very interesting way. You know, ain't beating. Oh,
They're both two liners.
really? Here's the problem. You're fighting a guy who's a divine visionary. Yeah, you don't win that. Wait. You said how much power? How is he much more powerful? You just gave the answer to your own question. He's a divine visionary.
Wow.
As a musician, I never felt more insulted.
Man,
Yeah. Mm.
Like, bro, you can't even let me be the root. What the hell?
Oh, they just had to escape. They just had to escape. Oh, okay. That was not explained very well then, if I remember.
Nope. But we've already discussed this is one of those you have to turn your brain off.
And there's the principal.
The greatest trial for you begins here.
Oh, we finally getting that fight between them two. All right,
Yeah.
I'm down for it. So weird.
Wow.
So wait, he didn't. Oh come on. So he didn't want it. He didn't challenge last year. So then that's why wasn't the Sword of Kane can do what he got to become divisionary. That's kind of sad.
But we seen what happened when those two fought.
Oh, the Sword King guy is like much stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does that even matter?
But everybody knows how strong he is. We as an audience are still guessing how strong he actually is.
How strong the music guy is. Yeah, we haven't seen that
No,
true
I'm
strength from
talking
him.
about the Avery guy too, the sword guy.
Oh yeah, we haven't seen all his true strength either, outside of the fact he's had his
Because
hard.
remember he pulled off that wand, and his wand was doing the fighting too.
Correct.
And that had nothing to do with what he did in the last season. So
Exactly.
Oh, oh! I thought you were gonna punch him. Nope. I'm gonna put one finger and just knock you back. Here's the thing: y'all still working together, and we don't understand your plan. Because why are you still here? Why are you still trying to get out of it? Trying to make sure he's not gonna end up winning.
I don't even know if it's about him working together. I just think that the other guy think he using them.
But the guy that's the
like
music guy knows that, so he can destroy him if he thinks it's gonna be it's a ploy.
that's his candidate for Divine Visionary. That's he's Snape, and that's
He's Snape. That's
that's who
funny.
he wants to be. It's all.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Random.
We're really doing these. Okay. All right.
My question
What is you
exactly.
think you? Bruh.
Okay. All right.
Fourth wall break.
I love how they did that. We have the rap song in the background as well. I'm not.
And if y'all listen, I swear that is somebody we actively know.
It's the
It's
RZA.
not. It's faint, but yeah, it sounds like somebody similar.
And
That's
it
Wu
is
Tang.
American English rap. My audience, our audience, it boggles my mind the fact that we have an English music in the background, but it's still speaking Japanese.
Well, I mean, that's what they're trying. Wait, why is he? Oh yeah, he's here. Play a little game. He's saying, "I'll do it."
He has no choice.
Yeah.
Y'all are gonna like this part.
Oh, Simon Says, or a
Well,
variation of it.
it's like if I point to the left and you look to the left, you lose. You
Correct.
have to look.
There's a Mario Party game that's based on this type of
Yeah.
uh, thing within current Mario Party, actually. Oh, but why are you doing? He's attacking him. Oh, that's. Oh, I don't think you need to bring that. What? Okay, he's doing a tap dance move here. Okay, all right. Ooh, what? Huh? Okay. A bird. What is that bird doing? Oh, the cream puff. What?
He only lost because of the bird.
The bird.
because of the cream puff.
Well, the bird taking the cream puff, basically.
Everybody scheming and plotting on Mash's wife.
Yeah. So now everybody has a side. Oh, they're doing the thing from Harry Potter where they did it in
Yep.
the first movie where it's like where they're one-on-one dueling, but you can only use defensive moves.
Where we
But in
learned
this
that
case,
Harry's spice was
it's not
gone.
defensive moves. It's attacking moves.
Defense against the dark arts.
Yep.
When Harry first talked to that snake.
How is he gonna? Okay, I'm interested to see how he's gonna fight this.
Fulfill your destiny of a loser.
What? All right. Oh.
Going all out from the beginning.
Oh. Mash is about to get brutally hurt in a second. Okay. CL. Oh, huh, huh, huh. He's just doing a spine buster. Okay, all right, all right. I. There we go. I have to say this. What in the world did we just watch? That was ultimately one of the weirdest things I've seen. I think I've seen so far in Mash. And Chris, since me and Dion both went into this blind, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you take the reins on this one. You can start however you want. We'll go the middle, the beginning, the middle, the end. My friend, take it away.
All right. So let me do it in a short version so we can have enough time to fit solo leveling.
Okay.
So starting from the beginning, we're reintroduced to the last fight that happened to the story. So Mash is hitting the spirit with the tennis racket going back and forth. Okay, so now we're in the present, and now everybody is coming back into the fight arena after the end of the run. Everybody's meeting. Now everybody's knowing or catching up to what's going on as far as all of the contestants in the final exam, which is pretty much just they're showing off that it's Mash, and I keep forgetting this guy's name, but the music guy. So he's gonna be called the music guy right now.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody, and
That's a
now Macaroon. Thank you.
Yeah.
So then we go into the back rooms where they're having a conversation. They're getting caught up. Now Mash is kind of he's wanting to rest and everything, but he meets a new divine visionary who comes out of nowhere and challenges him to a game. Now this game is he's trying to see if Mash is capable of his next feat, really. So as we going into this feat, they're fighting Mash's. What was the game called? It was like don't look but don't look.
Yeah. Look, but don't look. Basically, what that game is supposed to be is like wherever he pointed, you're supposed to look the other way. You're not looking at the where he pointed. So it's basically Simon Says without the Simon Says part. You just follow. You see where the finger goes. You're supposed to look the way. If you look at the other way, you lose. Yeah. You look the way he's
Right.
pointing, you lose.
Now I know I've skipped through a lot of this first part, but to me, that first part is just kind of like, and we already know what happens. And they even acknowledge a lot of the things that they're doing. They're purposely breaking the fourth wall into to cover up their gaps. They're like, hey, we know there's a gap here, but just hey, we're acknowledging it for you so you don't have to. So, and to me, that's part of the humor of it, the humor of the show.
I, I agree with you, Chris. It's part of the humor. I do think it's kind of funny when you do it in a way where it has a they even like they say they even tell you there's gaps, just go with it. I'm okay with that, and I've talked about this before. I'll keep talking about it. They basically want this show turn the brain off, enjoy it, and that's the point. They are building story things, but they're not always connecting to other things.
It just like this first section, I feel like they're trying to have a mature show, but the comedic part is like, hey, this is a mature show. We know there's a gap here, so yeah, comedy.
Dion, what do you think about this first part? What do you think? Do you think it's the comedy and it's supposed to be more mature, or do you think it's something else?
I think they ripped off R. Kelly.
Oh yeah,
We had a
there's
whole trapped in a closet moment.
I'm trapped in the closet.
a lot of rap in this
And
episode. So much rap.
it's so funny that me and the guy was like, "What is all this pointless banter for?" At the same time, like, yeah, what is all of this? Why are we doing this? But like you said, it's got to be one of those turn your brain off shows. But God, damn,
it's, it's getting rough. Yeah, I can see it.
yeah.
Chris, go into the second part of this because the second part of this is actually where it gets more interesting. Finally,
Okay, so after they come out of this fight, just to wrap up the last part of that of this, I guess you could say it's a pop quiz done by this divine visionary. So he's looking, he's dodging it, and the only way Mash fails his exam is because, well, the cream pot really, we're not, just like Dion said, we're ignoring the owl, which is really more about the cream pie. So that's gone. Or was it cream? Yeah. So
Cream
cream
puff.
puff. Yeah, the cream puff.
yeah, cream puff. So that's gone. Now as we get ready to go back out into the fight, Mash and Macaroon are kind of sizing each other up. And so when the fight, and then the most weirdest thing is that they, Mash and he takes out another cream puffs in order to get his calorie intake, which, I guess if you go to the gym, enough people do that to some degree. But it's oddly enough when I guess his villain also does it, and it does it in the most weirdest way. Like I don't know too many people that like tartar sauce, but but obviously there's. Do either one of you like tartar sauce?
Absolutely not. I can't eat tartar sauce on fish. It doesn't taste right. Even for like catfish, shrimp, I can go down like anything, any like type of fish you can fry. Uh-uh.
So for me, that was already bad enough, but the fact that when he said no, it's really more like it's tartar sauce for or shrimp for my tartar sauce. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, now this, and then when they make, so then that's when they go and make the correlation to, what? The crazier they are, usually the stronger they are. And it's like, that has been the theme of the show. And so it's like, again, here is the show setting this up even further. Now, they actually give us a glimpse of the fight coming into it. So in this fight, Macaroon fires off the first shot. So obviously the magic is heavier than what he was doing, but Mash couldn't return it. So instead, he had to divert, come back behind him, and then pretty much what do you call this move, Brandon?
Just basically just a full jump in the air to suplex him back to the ground on the top of his head.
Now
Power driver.
Yeah, he
in
like pile
any
drive them. He pile drive the man like crazy.
right, so in any point in time after this, is like, or any other person that Mash has dealt with before, if they usually after they get hit like that, they're done. But this guy gets back up.
Not with Macaroon. Macaroon got back up and kept fighting.
So now if that's a glimpse to what our next episode is gonna be, I can thoroughly see why they say, you know what, we gonna put solo leveling on a break.
And you finished out the show. I'll let you
Yep.
do. I'll let you start off, Dion. What do you think about the second half of this show? Because I thought this was crazy.
Honestly, I kind of nodded off during the second half of the show. No, I'm joking. It was, I mean, it was creepy. I think I was, I like the first part of the second half more than I like the back end of it. The you look you lose part of it. I enjoyed that
Told you.
more than I did the other side.
Told you. Called
Um,
that. Yep.
yeah, it's just you actually get, and it's still comic, it's still funny, it's still got that sense of game and childlike to it. it's just done very tastefully. You still get to see powers, abilities. You still get to see, personalities develop. Then what killed that for me is where in the world does this owl come from in this closed room with no windows to make him lose? This is the only thing that drove me crazy. And I know you guys say turn your brain off. But even
Well,
my off brain cannot understand. This is the way you make him lose this fight. I know you wanted to lose, so it can be a draw. So, he
so
still's got to
I don't
fight back.
know if you noticed, but they were not in a closed room. They were in an open room.
They were in the
Oh,
open
And
room
I thought
they
he
were in
walked
a,
through a door to get into
no,
that room.
no, there was an open room.
because the visionary comes from like an open gate, and the gate was already up. So I'm guessing what happened after
Yeah,
they go walk through the gate's still up, the bird flies through. Dion, I do agree with you though, because that doesn't make a lot of sense on the same point when they did it early in the season where bird flies through crashes through the window, drops the letter, leaves. And it's like, wait, bird should be hurt, can't fly, things should be happening. But okay, fair.
okay,
Also,
I understand this, but it really is kind of funny because when you compare it to Harry Potter, I swear
that's
his owl was like, bro, where did you even come from?
and that's the
He's
thing.
on the other side of the earth. Like,
That's the other thing. That's
But
the thing I'm
my
getting
thing
at
is
now.
to make him lose the fight. Like, this is the way, this
You could
is your
done
creativity level.
you could done
In order
anything.
for him to lose this dynamic duel he's having, which his entire life is staked on this duel, this is the way you choose to end this fight?
I, and
Like,
I, Dion, I don't disagree. I don't. But here's the funny thing: Chris brought it up, and he's right. It is basically what Harry Potter did with the White Owl. The White Owl will come out of nowhere, do things, and you're just like, wait, why are you? How'd you come out of absolutely nowhere?
bro, wait a
yeah,
minute, because he brought him a freaking hat with a sword and he was in a dungeon. Come on now.
Yeah,
I'm done.
yeah,
I rest
he
my
was in a
case. I'm
he
done.
was in a dungeon, and at the school of magic, where I want to say there was no, and I'm looking through this, Chris. I hate to disagree with you, but this looks like a closed room. Like, there's library books on the wall. Like,
and that's the thing. They make it look like a closed room, but also kind of doesn't give you great understanding when the divine visionary just poofs into the room. When he's
yeah,
just
like
sitting
he's
on
just
he
sitting on the desk when they walk in.
correct when they're all sitting there
Well,
and they're like,
actually, when
we're
they open up from their freaking R. Kelly moment.
yeah. So like they're like, where did he come from? Where'd you come from? He says, oh, I just got here. Kind of playing it off, but I'm like, okay, you've already teased something there. You're gonna tease something else. The other thing
Yeah,
about this scene that kind of just threw me for a loop, the second half of this, the tartar sauce scene with cream
Yeah,
puff just kind
man.
of was like, all right, you've just gone to a whole nother level of just
Now
creepy,
that
weird.
I was not
yeah,
expecting.
that was extremely disgusting.
Like, okay, fair enough. Fine, you're gonna go creepy, weird, cool. But then when I saw Mash pick him up and do a pile driver to this man, I'm just like, all right, you literally kind of just gave me everything. You just kind of just partially jumped the shark, but you partially gave me the reason because he has the muscles he has. Cool, I'm fine with all that, but it doesn't make much sense.
Right.
And if we're gonna head to the fight with Macaroon and Mash, with the second half of this fight, if that's the whole next episode, cool. I'm cool with that. Some of the story stuff in here kind of gets buried, and I'm not gonna talk about any of it because it doesn't really have any bearing on this plot. But it's kind of
Right.
like, okay, you put a bunch of story things in here too, which doesn't really make any sense. You can make it funny. I'll put my hands up and say you made this funny. Cool, I'm fine with that. But you trying to make a serious story, and the serious story stuff you're trying to do doesn't hit much at all. Even the whole part where they're sitting on the little table, the little chairs and stuff, and having the matches talking, and he's playing the red hair guy's just playing the violin in the background,
Yeah.
and Finn's like, he just started talking randomly. What? and then the girl does it, and it's just like, huh? It it makes you think they don't know what they're doing, but they do know what they're doing, and they kind of have a sense of where they want to go.
B
So,
Mac,
gentlemen, go ahead.
I just want to say this really quick. There's two things I want to say. I'm sorry.
Go. No, go right ahead.
One, what is the obsession with food in this particular anime?
Yeah.
Um, you see the first fight when he spits in his face and turns it into a protein shake, or
Yep.
splashes water in his face and turns it into a protein shake. Now this guy's like, this is so every duel we gotta have like a food battle beforehand. All right, cool. But the second thing is this episode showed me the difference between the tasteful storytelling and well placed timing that was in Solo Leveling's last episode and this.
Okay. Okay. So before I ask the guys for ratings, I'm going to ask you to do this. Get up Solo Leveling episode 7. We'll get into that to a minute. I did watch that, and we're going to talk about that. That got kind of interesting. Chris, thank you for doing that. Thank you for going through Magic and Muscles for me, by the way. I don't mind going blind sometimes. I appreciate doing that. Chris, what would you give Magic and Muscles episode 18 for a rating?
I give it I give it a 7.2.
Explain, because I want to hear this.
I put it this
Please.
way. In as funny as I thought it was, it's still lackluster for me. Like I would like even in my commentary, I skipped a whole third of the show. Let's just be real with it. I skipped a whole third, and then turn around when I actually get to the fight. I really only spoke about two or three of the main points of the whole show.
Correct.
So therefore, that was my whole interest in the show. Th- Therefore, you get that 7.2.
All right. Dion, give me a rating, but I think I know where you're about to go. But lay it
I
on us.
would rate it a 0, but I'm gonna give it a 3 because I did like that divine visionary interaction with Mash himself. But other than that, man, this episode was garbage. Oh yeah,
Dun,
sorry. I
dun,
don't know.
dun.
No,
I just can't get. This is not one cart my horse could pull. It's
and see, here's the thing. I have a dilemma because ultimately, I'm gonna hate to do this, but I'll do it. I have to give us like a 3.5.
yes.
And the only reason, and you brought it up for me, Dion, the pacing of this felt really odd because ultimately I had my Xbox controller turned off and the show was still going. I thought we were about 30 minutes in. Ultimately, it felt so weird because they did a lot of jump cut things too. And a couple jump cut things they didn't fully make sense. And like Chris said, he skipped the whole third, which is a bunch of talking. The two highlights for me was the pile driver to Macaroon, and
Yeah.
basically the Mash losing the cream puff. Outside of that, there's nothing really else redeeming about this because the whole first part is recapping stuff from we saw from last episode, and after that we finished that whole little trial super quickly. It kind of just feels like they jumping from trial to trial, and we don't even see Mash conquer the trial. We just see him leave out the door, which I forgot
That was
that he,
weird.
which I forgot. It's supposed to. She said, I don't think she ever said escape. She said who has the last little crystals left. So that tells me red team and yellow team lost their crystals, which we never see. And the only people who had crystals left or those people. Red team lost all their crystals, and blue team had one left, and yellow team had one left. But that doesn't make much sense because you said one team survived, not all of them.
Can I ask a question
Go
about
ahead.
that part? Um,
Go.
because I'm having a hard time understanding this. Was the guy that Mash beat up on a team by himself?
No, he's part of red team.
Because
He
if
beat up. He had beat up his own people.
but we
Yes,
never even see no, because
correct.
they if he was on red team, then we just see them get beat by Macaroon. They had
Macaroon.
the wolf.
And then we see the red guy match face last episode beat up one of the yellow dudes. So you're
Yeah.
Hmm.
telling so then you're telling me there's only two yellow dudes left, two blue dudes left, Finn and Mash. But ultimately in that case, that doesn't make much sense because you say in the beginning of that episode, last week's episode, hey, only one team can survive. Well, now that doesn't really connect very well because you see Macaroon, Mash, and Finn all come out of there. But I'm guessing that what they're saying is since there's one left, the one that had the stone at the end could move on.
But
Which,
what
if it is,
happened to the sister guy? The one that's crazy about his sister.
so he
He was
must have
we
lost.
never see him get beat up. Like this is
So,
what I'm saying.
We
His
we don't
plot is
see him
so
fight.
all
we don't see
over the
him fight. We don't see him fight. So he could have lost his yellow little stone thing in a
So
cut.
he's a main character in this entire anime, and we don't even get to see him get his stone broken. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we get to
Yeah.
see Finn get chased down for 3 episodes.
Correct. Correct.
Hey, come on,
Ladies and
man.
gentlemen, we could talk about this all night. And here's the reason why. Because MASH, and I'll keep saying this throughout the rest of the season, all they want you to do is turn your brain off and enjoy the comedy. But when you think about the plot, when you think about what else is around the comedy, it doesn't make much sense. And here's the thing, Dino's not wrong. Chris ain't wrong. When Chris skipped this whole section, you can tell that means it's a bunch of dialogue doesn't matter. One thing I'll say, Demno definitely in the first season did a lot of that, where I would skip whole sections of them just talking because
Hmm.
it did not matter. One line would be the thing that mattered. Everything else was not canon. Didn't have a reason to be there. So that's what they did here. A bunch of the dialogue doesn't matter except like a couple lines and a couple things that happened. That's it. Everything else is just be comedy. It's supposed to be funny. But let's get into Solo Leveling episode 7. This builds off episode 6. And this is going to get very interesting now. We're getting to the thing I talked about last week. We're getting the tease from at the end of last week. We're also getting a lot of story stuff. There's one or two nitpicks I have, but they're small nitpicks. I'm not going to be too worried about it. When I say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Gentlemen, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Let's see how far I can go. By the way, I got the ending song from the show. The ending song is a banger. I have to say that now. Engine. Yep. And he thinks back to what happened. Testing his power.
I wonder if he'll get another rating. Like if they ever go back and test him again.
That does eventually happen. It's not. Makes him think back. Yep, detox.
So he can't even drink.
Technically, he can, but he doesn't get drunk. It automatically just detoxes the body.
Then what's the point of drinking?
Right.
It's kind of like an MMO where you're not getting hit by like poisons and things, so that the body thinks it's bad, even though it's not technically bad.
I'm glad they're doing this.
They are doing it. They're glad they're
They're doing
mentioning it. Yeah.
exactly what we said they should do with all that information we. Yep.
By the way, why is this music so hype for this conversation?
Maybe because you already know what's coming.
Yeah.
Right. This is prep battle music if I ever heard any.
Yeah, that is what it is. It's a prep battle music. It's just kind of funny. Chris, remember that the plot point for later.
You really want to threat this guy?
You
Yeah, no,
you're trying to
not really.
threat the person that not only saved your life twice, but then you have the gall to even ask him to help you build a company and still you threaten him? Ah, bro, you got balls.
The
Y'all
guy
need to
you
listen
seen
to.
decapitate everybody that was stronger than you.
You need to listen to this conversation because this conversation makes that last scene connect from last episode.
She got left.
He just bolted. Yep. He's like, okay, wait, why? Wait, why you keep running? Another plot point. Man, that color pop, that door.
So that's an S rank dungeon.
And there's a giant Cerberus. So the debuff does not work. Oh, yeah. jeez. I would already try to leave at this point. I was stuck around.
Mm.
Yep. Physical damage is 20% less, but he's healed for the most part. How are you taking that with your bare hand? Okay.
Ooh.
You should be done, but you're not. And the
Ooh, I wish
Cerberus
I
is
could see the
dead.
face I'm making.
What'd you say?
Wish I could see the face I'm making on that. Ugh.
This, yeah. This, that wasn't pretty. That was brutal. You get leveled up and everything.
Did y'all see where he got plus 20 agility and perception?
Mm-hmm. So now he's getting back the stuff that he would have lost. That is the end of solo leveling episode 17. I'm gonna do like Chris did. I'm gonna do it in 3 parts, but I'm gonna kind of truncate it because the first half of this is a lot of talking. The second half of this is a little more talking, but has some things here, and then the fight at the end. So let's start this off with this. This starts off where we see The one that had guild guys, that's the assistant to the head, actually head of the guild. One of the people who work there goes in and says, "Did you hear about this thing that happened with this double dungeon and these dudes that were working with the six guys? Did you read this?" And he's like, he starts reading. He's like, "What's wrong here? This everything seems up the code." Well, here's the problem: the D rank hunter survived, and the weak hunter from the double dungeon survived. And he's like, "Huh?" And he says, "Oh, you mean Jinu?" And yeah, he said Jinu survived. Then he goes, "By the way, they killed Dunkirk's older brother, or they killed older brother, the brother of Dunkirk, the brother that's the older brother we see in the last episode." And he's like, "Oh, that's not good." Okay. So then we see Jinu get back to his place. He had bought some chicken for him and sister. They kind of sit and eat. He says, "I already paid off mom's bills, expenses for stuff, and the apartment, so we're good for a bit." They kind of sit and talk for a bit. Talks about She asks what happened, how the dungeon go, all this kind of stuff. He opens up beer, kind of thinks back to what happened. He's like, "I should, if it was the old me, I would have ran away. I would have had other things happen. But now this, new me, I'm gonna fight back and all that kind of stuff." And then she kind of goes, "Are you okay? You're kind of in a trance." And as he's having the beer on his leg, he drinks part of it, and he kind of sees, "Oh, I don't get drunk." Okay, so he drinks it fully, doesn't do anything. Then he gets up and goes, "Wait." She's like, and he kind of takes the beer and leaves, but she goes, "Wait, you're not gonna finish eating?" I was like, "Nah, I'll be fine. I didn't want it. You can finish, and I'm going to my room." I'll start up with Chris for this. Chris, what do you think about this first little section?
So, so man, this session was interesting, bro. Because I mean, I- how can I put it? It's like we're getting to see who he is as a person, as a character. And honestly, it would kind of suck to find out that I can't drink, or become inebriated when I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and did you already get to the part about the him exercising yet? Him
Not
exercising?
yet. That's going to be the
Okay,
next part. That's the next
okay,
part.
okay.
Um,
Go ahead.
Dion, what do you think about this first session? You called it though. You like the fact they brought back up the older stuff from the other episodes, and they're bringing it back up here, so we get to hear about the E rank, all the stuff, the hunting, the money, all that. What do you think about this first little section?
I really like it because at the end of the last episode, sorry, excuse me, I don't know what just happened. At the end of the last episode, we had a bunch of questions. And instead of waiting 6, 7 episodes or until the end of this episode, we go right in and answer those questions. Especially since we had the answers in the manhwa and the webtoon and stuff. We already knew these answers. So for them to go ahead and immediately start divvying out this information, I love that. And they did it tastefully. It wasn't like they just dumped information on you. They made it into a storyline, and that's one thing I was worried about them doing. Like if we was just go see him pay his rent off and be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, okay, we gotta assume that he got the money." Like they did it very tastefully, so I'm glad. I'm very happy for that.
And the thing was, they gave you the line. He gives the line to his sister where he goes, I paid for mom's bills, I paid for expenses, I paid for," and he doesn't say rent, but he says some other things. So we're good for a while. And the sister doesn't bat an eyelash. She's kind of like, "How?" But she's like, "Oh, he did the job, so I'm not too worried about that." But it's ultimately kind of like, he's like, "How do you gain all this money?" And we get something layered on the road, which actually makes it more even clear what he's about to get. But this next part's interesting, where they're about to go for a run. He does his full daily run thing, get everything done. Then he's like, "Oh wait, I ran 11 kilometers. I wonder if I can go further. Can I go?" He's like, "Don't wait up, sister. I'm gonna keep running." So he keeps running. She kind of gets tired out. He finished out and maxed out 20. And he's like, "So maybe I can do the other ones." The other ones max out at 200. Secret quest happens. He gets a full revive, 10 ability points, and he can pick between two boxes. And the two boxes you can pick from is one's a blessed box, one's a curse box. The differences are not the difference of the name. One's good, one's bad. think he picks the West box, if I remember correctly. It's not really like shown. He doesn't really tell you here what he picks. He kind of just you just see the box appear. And open the box. He gets a key. This key is for a dungeon that's happening later. But um, after this part, he goes back home or he's resting and everything, and he his sister kind of walks in the room, knocks on the door, and says, Somebody's called for you." Jin Ho, I think what his name was, and she's like, "Okay," and he kind of pats her on the head, leaves, and she's like, "Wait, you drink all that beer? Isn't that bad for you?" And he's like, I'll be fine." So then he goes with the coffee shop with to Jin Ho. Jin Ho kind of says, "Hey, boss, I'm gonna give you the essence stones. We'll kind of split them up, and I'll give them to you." I love the fact they mentioned that there, and the fact is, like, I need your help. I want to become a guild master, but I need to do 20 raids. And Jinu's like, I don't really want to do 20 raids. So there's nothing for me. And he even mentions you want to be a guild master, right? So you have to do all 19 raids. He's like, I have the physical part down, I have the written part down, the practical part I don't have down really well. And before Jinu is about to leave, Jinho says, "But wait, you know, my dad. I want to do this for my dad. My dad wants to build up this thing for a guild and everything. My brother's off doing other things. I become a guild master, all this stuff." And Jinu kind of perks up, but he kind of still listening, but kind of like, okay, what's in it for me? Jinho Jin Jinho hands him a folder which gives him all this information, and basically we don't see what's in the information, but basically it's a building they're trying to build and all this stuff. And he wants to use Jinu because Jinu's really strong, but he's considered E rank hunter. So if I can do it with somebody low rank, it will look more impressive. Jinu kind of like pulls it off, walks off, doesn't really care, and he's like Jinho says, "Wait, please, I want to do this, please." And then Jinu fully walks off and leaves him. Kind of give him the stare and then just fully leaves. Um, Dion, what do you think about this next section where we see the run, we see him figure out he can have detox now, and this little section with Jin Ho and what he's trying to do?
Just more of the same. Bravo to A1 for how they turned this into a informational storyline. Because I know that we, especially seeing the very very end of that last episode,
Mm-hmm.
we wanted to know the relationship that these two characters are going to develop. Also the other character, which I'm not going to get too much into because I don't think we're there yet. But you have Jin who trying to become this guild master basically, but it kind of humanizes our main character because he's not more worried about becoming the strongest, or he's actually anti-worried about that. He's like, I don't want people to know that I'm strong yet. He's like, and I don't even know if I'm really am this strong, you know. So it kind of gives him that human element. Even though we see him getting monstrously strong, we still get this human side of him too. So I appreciate them doing that.
Chris, what do you think about this middle section here? What was your takeaway?
Now, see, this is where I was getting new information from. Like when y'all were hinting about this is part of the page, like, okay, this is what I was like getting most of the new story. Like, okay, I see like everything is not just as cut and dry as some of these other animes like they're trying to be thorough and give you all the information here. So I appreciate that them being thorough in that part. So
They were very thorough.
yeah.
I did a thing wrong. I flipped the two scenes around. It's actually the coffee scene first and then the run scene, because actually in the run scene, which I won't fully explain again, but he asked his sister a question. He asked his sister, hypothetically, if I had 30 billion won, what would you do with it? That's the tie into what we get the folder when Jin Ho hands Jinu the folder, basically saying he would give Jinu so much money and so much like power, basically. Like he would be one of the heads of this guild. He would be making buku money. And the sister goes, college, save up stuff, other things like that. And then they do the run thing and we saw that happen. But then the next thing after that, immediately we get back to the guy that was staring out the window, and now he's put a robe on. He breaks his phone, and his assistant comes in. Assistant goes, "Yeah, we found the information you wanted," and he's kind of like, "So who did this?" And he gets the information. He sees a D rank hunter and an E rank hunter, and he's like, "How?" And he asked the question. So if I go out there and murder them too, what would happen to me? And it's like he wants revenge, but he also knows he can go to jail. And the girl goes, "Well, if it's an extraditing country, you can technically be extradited back to your place you were, but you be on probation. Ultimately, if that doesn't work, you would have to take a sentence of like jail time and things. We can try to reduce that down." And the thing was, then he goes, "By the way, how's my schedule looking for the from the immediate future?" And she's like, "It's pretty booked up. I'll put it on my schedule for me." And the last thing he does is just break the little thing he gave her. Plus, he goes, "I hope the boys stay alive long enough so I can come out there. So please do stay alive," which is kind of just creepy in itself. Why he's staring at the camera with one eye looking red. That's creep. That's. Um, then we get to this long fight with this Jinu gets the boss key, opens the boss key. We have this long fight with this Cerberus. I'm not gonna go through this whole fight. The big thing with this fight is two things. One, Jinu tries to hit it really quickly and easily with the dagger, doesn't do much damage because that Cerberus thing is huge and hard to fight against. But the second thing was that the Cerberus went into like this Hellfire mode, basically where all of the abilities were like double what they were. So then Janu was just getting beat up and destroyed across the board. He was going to try to get out of there by teleporting out, but he dropped the teleportation stone, which we see him put in his pocket before he walks in. And then he finds like, you know what? I'm just gonna finish this. I'm gonna do what I need to do. He's like, I'm gonna take this. I tried a healing potion, didn't really work, but I'm gonna try this other potion, which drops my offense by 20%, but also makes other things really doesn't work as well. But it'll heal me for a time being. So he takes it. He's like, okay, let's try this. So then he can take on this boss, and he gets to take on it, and the hell double thing for the beast goes away, and now he's just doing ultimate damage to the thing. He is literally just putting the dagger through its eye, doing all this stuff. Finally brings it down. You see the man bloodied, arms bloodied, everything's bloody. He finished this fight, and he just lays there, and he gets all the rewards and things, and he gets the key to actually go in the castle. But he's like, "I'll be back when I get stronger." And I have to give him credit. This fight was at the end, and you didn't cut anything out of this fight. This fight is just pure. All that half this episode is. I'm gonna start with Dion for this. Dion, what do you think about this last little section? From the time we see the guy that wants to go after the Jinho and Jinu to the end of this.
I'm gonna answer this in two parts. The first part, the conversation with the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or with Dong Suk's brother.
Mm-hmm.
We have our villain.
We do. We have a villain officially now.
For our immediate future. Well, not even immediate future. It's whenever he gets time on the schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I like how they introduce him as being a guy who is clearly strong, without him having to show force. He is powerful without having to show like brute strength or anything like that. Like you get to see his demerits or his credibility just off of this conversation, and they did a really good job with that. The second part is this fight. Thank you, A1, for humanizing this character some more. Like this whole episode has been a let's bring He back down to earth. Let's show that he's not a monster just yet. He still has to be the main character. He still needs to build. And And I only appreciate that because you get so many animes where it's like, yeah, one fight and now this guy is just god tier level, ready to take on everybody. And this episode shows no, he's still dealing with stuff at home. You know, he still has to take care of things at home. He's still dealing with his own personal self, not knowing if he's strong enough and dealing with things like that. Then he still has to physically get stronger as well. So I love how they give us the taste of monster in the last episode, but then bring us back into, all right, you still got time to watch. You still need to watch this.
Chris, do you agree with Dion on both the points he's made, or do you see other things that you see from this back half of this episode?
Well, I mean, so again, being the anime only watcher, it's like I'm watching this all for the first time. Well, technically. So
Mm-hmm.
all I can really do is just follow the story. Now, this guy who's a villain is like, okay, is he A rank, S rank? I don't really know. I mean, dude, you're right, dude does look strong as all get out. And it's like, do you know what your brothers was doing? It's like, man, is it an evil family going on? Like, I'm still trying to put together pieces.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I do like, but and like Dion was saying though, now the fight, it was like, it kind of reminds us that yeah, our character is not OP yet, or I don't, or yet, we don't know if he even gets to that point. But it's like, okay, he's still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
And then, and the challenge is not only with the boss battle later on, but now you want to climb this tower to, so you can get the elixir for your family. So it's like, which way is this gonna happen? Like, how's this gonna roll out? So that's where I'm at.
And I will say this: I have to agree with Dion on one thing, and I agree with both. I agree with both of y'all. We have a villain now, and they made him look strong without him showing off his strength. But I also agree with you, Chris. What is his family? This family must be so screwy that did you know what your brother was doing? Did you understand that your brother was doing these things? But ultimately, the one thing I love the most, like Dion said, you kept Janu human, and here's how you did it: the elixir of life for his mother. He goes sees his mother. I didn't mention that because it doesn't really. It's not. It's a short scene. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to this, but it shows he still has humanization. He buys the chicken for his sister, and they have a meal together while they were talking. And then the other thing is, he hears out Jin Ho. Ultimately, if he was gone mad, he wouldn't hear out Jin Ho when he wants to do. He would have just walked off at that point. But he listens out, hears out for it. So we're getting. I think we're getting the story stuff I want, and I'm loving it for it. And ultimately, I think the big thing here, if you keep on this pace for me, you got my heartstrings. You got part of my heartstrings. You're gonna have all of it by the end of the season, because you ultimately have done something with this show that I think really hits home. The story stuff is beautiful, just beautiful. And even when they're sitting and talking in the coffee shop, you hear the battle music in the background, and that battle music doesn't even. I'm like, why are they playing this music? And like you say, it's ramping up for a battle. Well, what do we see in the next couple scenes? A battle where he battles a three-headed Cerberus. So it works. I'm going to ask you both this question. I'm interested to see the answers for this. So I'll start with Chris. Chris, what would you give Soul Leveling Episode 7 as a rating?
I'm going to give it a 7.9.
Explain.
It's only because I'm looking at it and then I'm following everything and I'm enjoying it. I'm watching it has a nice flow. It's smooth and smoothly. It's giving me information. And then the fight at the end was it all entertaining. So it just like, but I'm left with a burning question like, where is this going to go?
Okay, that's fair. That is fair. Dion, what would you give rating for Soul Leveling Episode 7? And I'm going to ask you this to take out the light novel, because I'm going to take out the manga for this.
Taking out 9.7.
Oh, wow. Okay, explain.
They're doing a really good job out to me outside of the episode 1 and 2 feeling like they should be one episode. They're starting to do a really good job at sewing things together. Every scene flows into the next one, and if you have a question in one scene, you're gonna get it. If not the immediate next scene, then probably the scene after it. Everything is flowing peacefully. There's no randomness. There's no uncontrolled randomness because there are still random bits and pieces, but it's like they're answering questions or they're giving you a question that's about to get answered. And in this episode, it not only shows character development, not just for our main character, but also two characters that are close to our main character, whether on the bad side or good side, which is uh Jin Hu, I think is the young guy,
Yeah, Jinho. Yep.
and then
Who?
the villainous character. We don't
Correct.
have a lot of information on him, which I think is intended because if we have so much information on him, we know what to expect from him versus
Correct.
Jinwoo. So we're leaving out this information, but we're also seeing pieces of other, like when those two agents were talking about him. So we know he's got to be on some type of list, some type of radar strength list somewhere for these guys to be aware that he even matters, that it even matters that they're his brother, you know. Um, then it shows in the fact that one little caveat, when he was drinking the alcohol, he tested his limits with the alcohol. Let's see what this does. Let's see. And then he used it practically in his fight. Like it
Yeah.
flowed so smooth into that.
Yep.
He's like, "Oh yeah, I just did this. Poison makes me stronger, makes me regenerate my health better than the health potion will. Let me do this." And now we got a surviving tactic out of this guy. It shows his strength, his strength of knowledge, basically. And I'm loving how it's developing story wise. And then you still give me action. You still give me enough fight to leave me you in the show with the fight. So it leaves me wanting the next episode. So I really like that.
I'm gonna say this right now. This is gonna be fun, ultimately. But here's the thing. This is gonna be. I'm gonna do it. I think this is 9.7, 9.8. I agree with Dion on this. Because if I literally take out the manhwa, they answered every single question we had from the last episode.
Yep.
And ultimately, the villain we've perked up now, Jin Ho's characters are getting stronger. The fact that Jinu is also figured out his stuff and he still has a plot of family first, then everything else. But strength his ultimate goal. And the little scene with his sister just eating chicken and talking shows he still cares about his sister. When he even asks his sister when they go running, what would you do with this type of money if I had it? So his fourth priority is family, not himself. It it's gonna be hard pressed to believe to me. And I still said it from last week, and I'll say it again today. I said it from last Tuesday, I'll say it tonight. It's hard pressed to me that you people think this anime is just about the fighting. If you listen closely, its first half of this episode was a story. Almost the first 20 minutes was almost to a story. We didn't get to fight till the end. And the fight was the last thing we saw. I I'm loving this because it reminds me of Dead Mount Deathway where they left us with questions. But we got questions later. And I see where Chris is coming with 7.9. Because the thing with Death Mount Deathway, both me and him knew when we finished the second season, it got better of understanding. Okay, you're going to answer a few questions, but you're going to leave us with others. How this is doing it. And it's leaving us with questions I want to know more about. I want to know about that brother now. What does he do? Why is he the way he is? What makes him tick? I want to figure out what Jin Ho really want, why he want to be a guildmaster, and how they're going to get this accomplished. And the last thing I want to know, When is Jinnu getting back to the castle to finish it off to get the elixir of life? That that's that's the great storytelling. When you tell it in a way where I'm looking forward to the next episode. We're getting the delay next week, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you come out of that delay and you hit us with a strong episode, I don't think people care.
I think people are accepting of the delay because we've gotten so these last, I would say 3 episodes, even 4, have been so consistently good. Even if you have your caveats, you can't say they haven't been good
Good.
episodes. You know, even with MASH, like the last episode before their break was a good episode. Had they left on the episode before that or after this episode, I'd have been upset. So, this is a good time to break for them.
And Chris, before I end the stream for now, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Shoot.
What would you have to do to get that rating? The half point rating, the half season rating you gave from last week to get it into the upper like nines or
Well,
nine.
well, let me put it this way. What questions did y'all have from last episode?
So why did the basically they didn't explain about him grabbing the money, the Essence Stones, and yeah, that was the only two. That was the two major ones I had.
And like
There
who
was
the
a
guy was standing
who the
in.
guy who was the guy, but I kind of knew it was a tease for something,
Yeah.
but they answered that for me. So those are my three ones. Those are my three big ones, but they answered
So
all three.
now, I maybe it's me, but I am just paying attention to everything, so I don't know what questions to ask. Now, I
Mm,
agree with Dion, like who was that person? But other than that, I don't worry about the concept of money if they don't show it. Even if they talk about it, okay. I mean, but unless you give it further explanation, I don't see any further reason to look into it. You see what I'm
okay,
saying?
okay,
Yeah.
that's
So,
fair.
so, so,
That's fair.
so therefore, it's like I feel like maybe your ratings were still based off of previous knowledge coming from the manga or the light novel.
Well, I'll tell you this from last episode without even taking the manga into consideration or the light novel into consideration. I had the question for the money because it was such a big deal in that episode. It
Mm-hmm.
started off talking about the money. It even ended talking with Jin
Jin
He
Ho, yeah, Jin Ho.
Jin Ho, like trying to mash out the stones. It showed a picture of the stone, or not showed a picture, but a close up on the stone he pulled out of the boss. Even at the end, he was talking about, or they mentioned him uh, talking
Well,
about
see,
paying his rent and stuff. So that's
well,
where
see,
my
the
questions for the money came
okay,
from.
okay. So the only difference between me and you there is I understand where the money is coming from and that, but the pacing of the show was so good. I knew that
Yeah,
you already know that's coming because either this guy's gonna betray him
right.
and he gonna go off, or he gonna give him some money and we gonna let bygones be bygones.
Yeah,
And I think the thing is, for me, and I agree with Dion partially with this too, those small details are more important to me when they're dialogue related. I don't normally, it's very rare, I don't normally care about like fight related things or even interactions very often if there's not reason to bring if it's only a one shot thing. And I think it's funny, like Dion said, they brought it up 3 or 4 times. In this episode I watched tonight, they didn't bring up they brought it up 3 times and they answered it. Those were the answers from the previous episode. So yes, I do agree with you, Chris. It is what different people look into, and I think that's the other going to be interesting about the show. I wonder if that's going to be how people look at it are they listening to the dialogue more? Or are they following what the action's doing? And that's going to be kind of their
Because when you pay
base.
attention to both, it's like, okay, just pay attention and all your questions will get answered.
Correct. And that's the thing. And that's the thing about this show, which I think that's going to be a hard thing for a lot of people to do. Just pay attention and follow what they're doing. And
Right.
it's funny to me because at least you know something. Me and Dion had the same response when they did the answers for us. We're like, cool, you answered this. Think about the fact that me and Dion also didn't with Magic and Muscle. We didn't like the fact they just did a lot of randomness. And like Dion
Hmm.
said, there was no randomness in there. I think there's one random scene that doesn't really make much sense, but it's not super random because it has a reason for being there.
Yeah, and I may be biased with my ratings being so high on Solo Leveling because I'm such against the way they're doing it with Magic and Muscles. Like I feel like they're so oppositely ran. Like Magic and Muscles is so random and so unnecessary with their information that it's like when I get a piece of information from Solo Leveling and they just like, all right, this is what you need to know, and let's get on with the show. I'm like, all right, I love that.
Yep.
Okay, but that's true and all. But when we're looking at all the shows that we're watching together, this episode was right on par with Shangri-La. It was right on par
It
with
was.
the wrong way to
Yeah.
use healing magic.
It was actually right on par with Metal Rouge, which ultimately that's a whole other cliffhanger I don't want to get into right now. But
You see what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
I
So
But
I get it.
you also know I give those shows, those particular shows, a very high
High
rating.
rating.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
Especially the wrong way to use healing magic. I am absolutely in love with
Yo,
the
that
way that
show is
show is
doing
going.
better than I. That show's doing a lot better than I thought it was gonna do.
Oh, it's doing good because it's the story.
The
And like
story is amazing.
and like we're talking, and basically all this boils down to, ladies and gentlemen, is story.
Yeah.
If you look
There
at
it
the top,
is.
if you look at the top 10 for this week, you look at the factor from last week. Story drives everything. Without story, none of this would make sense. You can give me a 10 out of 10 fight every day, but the story is lackluster. I am not going to care.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with this episode with Soul Leveling. What they do, they gave you a bunch of story at the beginning and left the fight to the end. And ultimately, that fight is probably like a 8 to me. Only
Yeah.
because we've seen the other fight from the previous episode with the humans. That's a higher fight. But the Cerberus boss would almost put him to death, which he's been on the death's doorstep a couple different times.
That was a well written fight.
Like it's gonna be interesting to see what happens next. I already finished book 1 for the manga, so I'm done with it. I'm not getting into it too anytime soon because I know if I keep reading, I'm gonna
I stopped reading too, just so I could keep it
correct.
fresh in my mind with the anime.
I finished book 1. I started book 2, but I was like, nope, I can't read on because if I read on, I'm gonna have other things in my brain. But ultimately, the thing about Solo Leveling to me, like Chris said, it's a blending of both, blending a fact of dialogue and visuals. And here's the thing: ultimately, if you can do the both well, people will be more inclined. If you can't, people are going to tune out pretty quickly or have questions about one or the other.
Yeah.
And the one thing we've seen on this chart, what's the top thing on the chart right now? Dangerous on My Heart, which is also a blending of visuals and storytelling, dialogue, and it's a drama.
That I'm gonna be binging.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna leave you off with this though. Think about this. I just pulled it up because I want to double check myself. This is also so A1 is the animator, but Aplex of America is the publisher. Think about the fact that both the shows we're watching this season are both done by Aplex of America. That's kind of insane to me. And the fact the music, the ratings, they're both rated 14. I think Solo Level should be rated 14 after seeing what we saw tonight. But that's a different story for the thing. But you can tell that they're doing different things with different shows. One, the comedy, one's acting.
But they're both produced very well. It's
Correct.
just the story for me.
Stories are different on both.
Right there.
Yes.
So one's more turn
Now-
your brain off and just watch. The other is more thinking.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean,
I
put your
wouldn't-
brain in your pocket.
Now, would it surprise y'all if the next episode is actually well put together?
Of MASH?
MASH?
Yes.
No.
Would it surprise me? Yes. I only say that because this entire season has been full of surprises.
So surprising.
So I will be surprised, but I should expect to be surprised. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm only asking the question because I feel like if they take the focus, if the studio takes their focus off of Solo Leveling for a week or two, and they put that focus into MASH, you never know the kind of surprise we might be in store for the next episode.
Correct.
that fight may actually be the fight of the season.
Coming up.
Now you
That's-
see what I'm
that's what
talking about.
If that's what they're doing, if the crew from Solo Leveling is in there, like, hey, bro, you should make him do this. Like, maybe the fight
Now
is-
y'all see where I'm coming from.
Yep.
Everything I'm thinking about. Yes.
We'll
So
see.
that was
He's
that
gonna
was
hit him with a cream puff.
maybe. That was episode 44 of the Anime Dojo. We'll be back next week for episode 19 of Magic and Muscles. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks for Magic and Muscle episode 20 and Soul Leveling episode 8. Also next week, we're going to talk about Demon Slayer, the Hashira training arc, the first episode. So look forward to that. That's going to be kind of spoilery, so I will mention that when we do talk about it. We'll do broad stuff and then spoiler stuff. In between the both talks, that's going to be most of that conversation for most of the podcast for that day outside the charts. But keep on this journey with us. I think this is going to be one of the, I won't say strongest seasons we've had in a while, but I think it's going to be one of the most interesting seasons we have in a while, because I think this season is going to end up showing you what animation is truly about. And if it's storytelling, now you see that storytelling is going to reign supreme going into the future. If it does, I won't be surprised. If it doesn't, I still won't be surprised, because I think both are valid. Storytelling and action, whichever one you would like. Would you think both should be together? That's up to you to decide. I do thank Deon and Chris for joining me, and hopefully from next time. See you.
Later.
Later, dudes.